This is a little pre-recorded video that I will go through that part of what I'm trying to show here is that one of the reasons for using WordPress is that it does look good on a mobile phone. So
Mm,
I've done work on optimizing this for search, but also optimizing it for appearance on a mobile phone. So I'm trying to simulate here the process of looking up Best Toastmasters Club in Coral Springs. And of course, it says Club Awesome. Somebody can come into the website. They can find out a lot about our club, maybe see some of our past events on replay, and they can register for the event. So we try and get a little bit of information about them. Have they ever done anything with Toastmasters before? And you can customize this form to gather whatever information you want. When they've completed that process, they get a confirmation. It shows up on screen, but it's also emailed to them so that they have the direction. And Club Awesome meets in a hybrid format, so we want to give them directions to our physical meeting location as well as the Zoom link. Then I'm changing roles here. Now I'm the VP of membership, seeing these registrations roll in. I see that this person's coming in and I have their email, I have their phone number so that I can follow up and try and make sure that we actually get them to come to our event. So they come to our event, they have a great time, they're really impressed by how professional we are, and now we're sending them a link to an online application. So instead of sending them a PDF, I'm sending them to this page on the website where they can put in their information. They can tell me whether they're a brand new member or whether they're coming back after some years away. They can choose the membership term. So this was recorded at the end of April. So maybe you want to start as of May 1st. Maybe I want to start as May 1st and tack on another 6 months so that won't soon be hit up for renewal. So when we get to the last screen, it's also going to prompt them to pay. First of all, they have to put in all their information. And Toastmasters International does accept this as a valid application form. It asks all the same questions and makes them commit to all the same things, gathers their information. And the advantage of doing it this way also is that the completed form will be archived on the club website. So there's something in the rules saying that you're supposed to retain these membership applications, and I would guess that most clubs don't do a great job of handing that off from one VP of membership to the next. I don't know that it matters that much, but it is a way of retaining that information in the club record. So it's saved as a private document to the club website. And then we have payment functionality built in. So you do have to go through a couple of extra steps to set up payment, but this is a Stripe payment. And I'll stop it there. There's a couple of other steps where after this is completed, the VP of membership would get a notification of a pending application. They can mark it approved, and they can create an account for the person on the club website.
cool.
Um,
I have a
And
question.
so, as I mentioned, this is based on standard software. You could get the plugins yourself and set them up on another website. In fact, that's what Sula is doing. Um, but the Toastmost service was created so that there was a way for people to set it up and get it kind of as a pre-configured package that is designed for Toastmasters and has a bunch of design choices. So again, this is pre-recorded demo stuff, partly because this allows me to edit it down and make it go quickly. But
I have a
once you've
question.
established a password here, and
Mhm.
if you don't have one, I'll send you one after this call, you can go in and create a website. And so initially, it's going to have an address that would be something like may26.toastmost.org or it'd be myclub.toastmost.org. If you want to, we can register a domain for you, or if you go to the additional trouble of setting up your own web domain, we can associate it with this hosting. which is similar to how it works on Free Toast Toast. Most people don't go to the trouble, but it is possible to set up your own domain that works with the website. Um, we're going to click Create Site, and it will chug away in the background. It tells you that you're going to get an email notification when it's ready. And so you'll get an email that says your new club websites awaits, gives you a little bit of documentation on how to set this up and where to go for help. And that's the end of the recorded demo, really. But it's presenting you with these couple of options to, if you're making a fresh start, you can go through this club website wizard. It will sort of take you through some additional initial choices that you might want to make for getting this kickstarted. You can also go through a process of importing some content from an existing Free Toast Toast website. If you think that's worth the trouble, I probably tend to steer people down the making a fresh start path, because part of the point of this is you're trying to improve on what you had over on Free Toast Toast. Um, so I have, a few websites that I can go through to try and show you the process of working with the format. Um, so this one is another one that I'd set up just for this demo, but I've customized it a little bit more. That one doesn't look so good, but um, this is Online Presenters Toastmasters, which has to do 100% of its recruiting through online means. So this is where I've gotten some practice at making that process good. And Club Awesome is over here. You'll see sort of a family resemblance. Certainly, you see the RSVP now button on the home page, but then we do have some space. I mean, I was showing it to you before on a mobile phone screen. On a desktop computer or a laptop, we have a little bit more room to spread out. So we have these multi-column layouts, and these are a bunch of different workshops that we've hosted where people can go back in and see the video replay. Um, so let me stop there and take a breath. Particularly Linda, do you have any questions if you're seeing some of this for the first time?
No, no questions on this. I
Okay,
know we have other persons who are on, but like I said, I really um I'm looking at this based on, like I said, a lot of the commentary that's been
okay,
happening between the district groups. And so from a district perspective on clubs within the district, that's what I'm kind of
okay.
looking or waiting to
Well,
get to that particular part.
part of how this grew behind Just Club Awesome is that Lois Margolin was president of Club Awesome at one point, and she went to uh, a district training and started talking up, you should see this thing that Dave Carr is working on. And so that's where I tried to package it up so that other clubs could also take advantage of it. So several of the clubs that Lois is involved in use it, a few others in District 47. But I'm still sort of toiling in obscurity, or at least that's how I feel about it. Trying to get people aware of what you can do with this.
I have a
And
question.
How
sure,
many clubs, sorry, how many clubs are in the district are presently using this platform, please?
how many clubs in the district? I mean, it's probably six, eight. It's a small number. I mean, I would love to do a workshop on the district just for District 47, talking about this option and making people aware of it. I mean, one of the trade-offs is I haven't Free Toast Toast is free, and I haven't figured out a way of making this free. If I had a
Mm,
generous benefactor to underwrite the website hosting costs, I could do that. I tried talking with like the Udemy people to see if they would want to, as a marketing initiative in return for some kind of promotion, underwriting the project, and they weren't interested. I've tried that with a few other potential corporate sponsors over the years, and so this is set up so that people can get a 3 month free trial, which is supposed to be long enough for them to figure out whether it is something that would be worthwhile for their club. And then after that, it is $60 per year. Now, compared with my hosting cost, $60 per year is I'm maybe breaking even.
Yeah.
I'm also working with a couple of districts. I mean, I was District 47 webmaster a few years ago, but I don't think they're using any of my stuff there currently. But a couple of I've been supporting District 63 for a year and a half or something, and they're merging with another district, so I'm going to support that new district. And another one of these districts that is being formed through a merger, they decided that would be a good time to do an overhaul, and so they have me assisting them. And I can charge a district a little bit more than I can charge a club. It's about like $500 a year instead of 60. But they may also require, a higher level of handholding and support. Um, so I want to show a few things to try and be more specific about how these websites are set up. I mean, I mentioned that there's this setup wizard that sort of tries to shortcut some of the initial steps of setting up your homepage and setting up your events, but I'm going to show it to you kind of the manual way rather than the automated way to try and make sure that I get some of the concepts across.
Can I ask a question before you move on, David?
Sure.
You had mentioned about the Stripe payment. Does the club have to have a direct relationship with Stripe, or are you processing the Stripe payment onto the?
No, 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 no. Yeah, there may be a way that could work out, but it's a more complicated relationship. No, the club would set up its own Stripe account.
Okay.
There is some support for PayPal as well. I
Okay.
think Stripe works better for my purposes um, because they're not, trying to lure you into creating a PayPal account. It's just a straight credit card payment. But then there are some clubs that have had a PayPal account for years and they've used that to handle their dues, and so they want to use PayPal. So I
And
support both
besides,
of those.
the international dues are paid that way too, because I know you can pay the international dues on the club. So it's international. We have club dues and international dues. So I guess my question is, how do you?
Yeah, the way we do it at Online Presenters um, is you can pay both directly to the club. So this is the dues renewal page.
Mhm.
Um, and so we charge a flat $10 on top of the $60 per 6 months.
Mhm.
So it would be $70 to do your 6 month renewal. But then we do have some people who will go in and pay Toastmasters International directly. So we also have a button set up here if you want to pay $10 or you want to pay $20 for the year as opposed to 6 months. We've set that up separately here. Um,
The club collects the money and then pays Toastmasters International. Is that how?
right. If you collect the
Okay.
whole fee, then you're responsible for turning around and paying Toastmasters International.
Okay.
And in some ways that is simpler. I mean, it would be great
Yeah.
if Toastmasters International offered to collect money and then they just gave you your portion of it, right?
Yeah.
But I think asking people to pay two different ways is
It's
pretty
awful.
cumbersome. Maybe you can get your officers to do that, but to have every club member have to pay in two different places is pretty cumbersome.
Well, I think the consensus in our club is trying to avoid the Toastmasters International website as much as possible because so slow
Well,
and click.
well, I have some of those feelings too.
Yeah.
Um, let me, uh, I wanted to cover some of the basic concepts of how you work with WordPress. So um, here I'm on the front end of the site. There is also a back end dashboard. So I'm going to the upper left-hand corner of the screen. I have this is the name of the club. It's a phony club. Uh, so I can go to visit site if I want to go to the front end. I can go to dashboard if I want to go to the back end. Um, and this is essentially what you would see if you were the administrator of the site. Uh, a regular member who has an account on the system that they use to sign up for roles, they would have a much more simplified version of this dashboard. They would basically see where they could change their password or customize their profile, maybe add a profile picture, and not too much else here on the back end. There is this menu called Toastmasters where you can see your personal progress through the program. So as we record roles on the agenda, we're recording that history. So maybe I could show you over on Club Awesome easier. Um, let's see. So if I log in as me rather than as the super admin of Toastmost, um, if I want to see my progress as it's been recorded on the agenda, doesn't necessarily mean it's been recorded in Basecamp. Um, okay. So this lists basically everything I've done in the club, and then I can filter it down to just see my speeches. Um, and actually also because I have this synchronized with online presenters, I can also see not just stuff that I've done at Club Awesome, but this should also show some things that I've done at online presenters. You just see it by the website address. Um, and let me show you actually what it would look like for a regular user who doesn't have the admin rights. Let's see. So this is the more abbreviated version of the agenda, or of the dashboard rather, where I can see those specific things. Um, let's see. If I switch back to being me. Also in the dashboard, when you're logged in as the administrator, you can see the various settings that are available. So there are a bunch of defaults for RSVP Maker that can be set here. And there is also a tab for payment. I guess I'll blur this out on the replay, but this is where I can set my credentials. So you basically get a username and password, kind of a computer to computer username and password. Your private key and your secret key is
Mhm.
how it makes a connected an encrypted connection between your website and the Stripe website.
Mhm.
Um, so this is in RSVP Maker includes the payment functionality because it is used for things outside of just Toastmasters. And then there is also a settings screen for Toastmasters where you can put in, you choose the user account for the club president, the VPE, and so on down the list. And if you've gone to the trouble of doing this, it will also it'll also create email aliases. So somebody can write to president@clubawesome.org and it gets forwarded to the current president. So that address will still work after July
Mm,
1st. The email will just get forwarded to somebody different.
Mhm.
And there are other things where the system will notify the vice president of education of certain things. So it looks that up in the system, but you have to have it set up
Okay.
for it to work. Uh, Notifications, these are different messages that you can set up, different customizations that you can set up, such as email reminders of upcoming meetings. Application and dues is where you put in your dues schedule. So you have the standard schedule from Toastmasters International, although actually in the month before the end of a term, we'll bump it up to $70. So we'll collect, through the next 6 month term rather than just charging them for 1 month, just to make it a little bit less annoying. And then we spell out what our club's schedule of dues is as well, depending on the month that they join. And then in here, there are some tools that are meant to help you set up the application page, set up the payment page, so that you can do that whole routine that I was showing in the video. So within here, there are menus for pages and events, and also you can do email newsletters. Posts is blog posts, so those are more newsy items that you can create that are associated with your club. Or when we do something like one of those workshop replays, we'll create a blog post and we'll put it in the category featured so that it will be listed in that grid of events that is on the homepage, so that that's not just a news event that'll appear at the top of the blog listings for a little while. It'll be preserved as something that was one of our really special things that we want to feature. We want people to know that we've held these great workshops. I always think of it in terms of trying to give people a deeper sense of what's going on with this club, that there's a lot of activity here, and that it might be the right club for them. So I want to go back to this starter website and how I would go about editing this page. So I can go into the page editor, and it's going to give me a preview here of what the content of that section would look like. I can basically think of this as a basic word processor where I go in and start typing. And every time you hit return, it gives you space for a new paragraph. But if you want to add something other than a paragraph, some other type of content, WordPress has this concept of content blocks. So an image is a content block. So it'll insert a placeholder. We can say we want to upload something from the computer, and that will be inserted into the page with some default formatting. But we can play with that formatting. We can say that we want this to actually expand beyond the normal bounds of our content area because it is something that is so important. There's all sorts of different things that you can play with here. If we want to add a tint on top of this, we could actually do that. So the idea is that with each content block has its own kind of controls. So generally, you don't want to add many paragraphs of plain text. You would want to break that up with headings and images. So a heading is a different content block. And something that need to back up and go over is that there's at least two or three there's at least three different ways of adding content blocks to the page. So whenever I have a blank line, if I hover over it, I will see this little plus sign down the end. The other thing is it tells you right in this sort of placeholder text that you can type the / key and then you can start typing the keywords and it will basically search for the element that you want to include. So I can include a 2-column layout here, and then within that I can add a couple of images. So we'll grab a couple of images that are already in the system. And this is kind of good for maybe presenting two different alternatives. Or on the online presenters page, we have a column on the left that is for visitors and a column on the right that talks about membership and how to become a member. So whenever you want to set things up kind of parallel that way, you can do that. But there's one more way that I want to show you, which is this button in the upper left-hand corner. It will show you in different categories the kinds of content blocks that you can insert, and you can drag and drop these into your editing area here. If I just clicked on it and didn't drag and drop, it would get inserted at the end. But also within this section, I mean, for one thing, it's giving you a lot more detail. It will show you many more alternatives, but also there's this section called patterns. So the patterns are categorized. These are like whole layouts that you can insert into your web page, and then you can customize those further. And I've made up a bunch of these to include Toastmasters imagery. So this is just boilerplate at this point, but we could customize it. We would go in and choose the About Us link and make sure that that points to our About Us page. And if we don't have an About Us page, we can create one. So we'll say About Us and create page About Us. So it'll create basically just a blank page that we can use for that purpose. Let's say. Now, one other thing I wanted to show you is if I close this, there's also a button in the upper left-hand corner that lets you see an outline version of the page. So the label on it is Document Overview. So you get an outline of everything that's on the page. We can see, if we click here, we find the paragraph up top, then the heading, and the columns, and you can see what's nested inside these columns. And this becomes important if, for example, I dragged in that whole block of pre-designed content. And if we look at this, we'll see that there are actually several different elements in here. You actually can drag and drop within this to put things in different spots. So these are the sidebar on the left. There's also a sidebar on the right, which is where you see the properties of the specific content item. So this is a content block called a spacer, and all it does is create space. But we can adjust how much space, either by putting in a number of pixels or by just dialing it up or down. And then let me show you how this applies to the events. So we go over to the Toastmasters meeting, and let's see. let me change personalities here because I'm logged in as the super administrator, and I should be logged in as a specific user who is a member of the club, which there's only one of right now, but so, okay, so where was I? Um, okay, so this is I reload here. All right. So as a member of the club, I can see where I have the opportunity to sign up to be the Toastmaster of the day or the yacht counter. If I want to be a speaker, it's going to give me the options to pick my path, my level, my project, and then put in a title and an intro that the Toastmaster of the day can read when they're introducing me
Can
as
you
a new
make
member of the club.
the block wider in different fonts as well?
There's there's some of that, and there probably could be more. Um, let I think it uses the default fonts for your theme
Okay.
um, that would be defined within the block editor system. Um, and that might be where you would have a little bit less control, where you said you were using Elementor. Um, but let me go over what this looks like if you go in here through the editor. Um, so if I go to edit this page, my what's going on with that? My roles for the agenda also show up as content blocks. So there's a content block called agenda role, and
Okay.
I've selected from this standard list.
Hmm.
But if I have a custom role at my club,
Hmm.
I could just say custom role and put in the name. It would be
Hmm.
something like Joke Master. Some people have something like that. I think there's a standard role in the list for humorist because that's what my club calls it. Um,
Right.
but it is meant to be customizable, and that's also one of the ways that I try and address support from multiple languages. If they want to put
Oh.
in the French version of Toastmaster of the Day, they could do that. Um, so
And this is like part of a logged in part of the site, so only members would be able to
right,
have
and you have to be logged in, and you have to have access to be
that
able
page.
to manipulate this. There is, however, something on the front end uh, where I have tried to provide access with the idea that maybe you have somebody who is Toastmaster of the day, um, but uh, they don't have editor rights to the site, but they're organizing this particular meeting. Um, so we had the concept that if you have a meeting that is going to have four speakers instead of three, or maybe it's two because somebody is giving a long speech. So I could change this to two speeches and say that we still need 28, 28 minutes for it because somebody's given that long speech.
So here you're editing one agenda instance.
That is correct.
Okay.
This is the idea is that this is a way that you could customize. Uh, so this is sort of like my custom version of the WordPress block editor.
Mm.
It's meant to be a little bit simplified so
Hmm.
that it would be just for inserting role blocks or things that are specific to the agenda. Um, if I want to add another role, again, I can add the
Right, but
humorist.
you have the concept of a template, which is
Yes. Okay.
standard,
Yeah. Let
and then
me
you're okay.
let me back up and cover that. Well, so suppose that I did customize it just for this one event. There is also a button here that says apply to all, because I've decided that this is the new standard way I want to run my meetings. From now on, we're going to have three speakers instead of two at every meeting. So we could make the change here and do apply all. The way you would do it through the editor, and maybe I probably need to zoom in here a little bit.
Thank you.
But if I come up here to the top,
Uh-huh.
it says edit RSVP event. And again, that's going to take me into the editor for this one specific event.
Right.
But if I go down a little bit further, there is edit template. So the difference between the template and the individual event is that the template is not set up to be, Tuesday at such and such a time. It's set up to be every Friday at such and such a time. So it's sort of the generic version of this. So we can set this up so that we change the number of speakers, the number of evaluators. Let's do that as a simple example. So I'm going to change it to 4 speakers. It multiplies 4 times 7 and gets 28. And maybe we want to add a little bit of padding on the agenda for transitions between meetings, or transition between speakers. And if you see when I change these numbers, see how the roll right after that, the
Mm-hmm.
start time changes.
Mm-hmm.
So we are trying to provide you with some tools that you can use to
Right.
plot out your agenda. And if you ever see this is it just basically means that the thing is confused. The editor is confused by something. Maybe it wasn't saved quite properly the other time. Usually you can just click on that attempt recovery button and it will straighten itself out. Um, but the point is, we've decided that now we're going to change the number of speakers we have at every meeting. And so I'm going to save this. And as soon as I do, it says go to the create update screen to update the events that were based on this. So I can check off all of these and say I want them all to be updated.
So, David, in our case, I hope this isn't too much of a rat hole for Linda. But, if I want to have two different templates, one is 60 minutes and one is 75 minutes, I would just name them like weekly 75, biweekly 75, or, just name the templates.
Something like that to distinguish them. Yeah. I mean, is it, um, for the scheduling system, it's kind of cleanest if the alternate thing was the one your standard meeting was the first and the third of the
Right.
month, and then the alternate version was the
Second,
second
fourth.
and the fourth, and then you'd have
And
to
then
figure
there's
out what to
that
what to do
random
if
fifth.
there's a fifth there's a
The
fifth
random
Wednesday of the
fifth is the
month or whatever.
second, yes.
Yeah. But there is another way of handling that, and I'm going to show you on this website. I'm just gonna I'll have to put this back the way it ought to be after the meeting. But so we have templates set up for contests, for example, and
Mm-hmm.
so just to zoom in again, there's edit template. There's also switch template,
Oh, okay.
and so switch template. I go in and so it's picked up the particular event that I want to make a change for.
And then you would just switch it to a
And
contest, I
say
suppose.
this is going to be the evaluation contest. Um, and it allows me to check off other things that might be specific to that event that I want to overwrite the current defaults. But I can do save changes. And if I go out and view this, All right. So now I have a template that says contest master, chief judge, timer one and two, evaluation contestant, as opposed to our regular weekly template. Um, and again, I'll need to, since this is the live site, I'll have to go back in and straighten things out.
Can you just
Uh,
use the little clock and reverse it? Does that work? You
Actually,
know,
it should. Yeah. Let me try that. And actually, this is kind of an important feature too, is that it does save revisions.
mhm.
Um, and I don't know what you were talking about with the clock icon, maybe, but this is versions of the page, and see if this, yeah. So I can see the change that was made, and I can go back in time and say restore this revision, and that
That's from two
should,
months. That's from 2 months ago that you want to restore it from there.
yeah, but it was.
Oh,
I
you
think
haven't changed it now.
I had sort of projected them out months in advance, so
Oh, I
it
see.
should be okay. Um, but that is in general a good way of recovering from anything where you
Like Control Z. It's
actually I
really
think this is maybe maybe that's not doing it for me. I think
sorry.
I actually just replaced
Bad
this with
suggestion.
I think I just replaced this with a blank document. Let me try it again.
Go back to 15
I
if
don't
you
know.
can. I'm
This
sorry. This is what happens when I try to use this.
well,
I get so confused.
well, unfortunately, sometimes it's happened when I try and go boom, boom, boom. Isn't this so simple and easy? And then turns out not necessarily to be so simple and easy. Okay, that looks better. Store this version.
Yeah, when
Hmm.
I'm using it on Elementary, there's a little clock at the top, and I can just go back to the last one that I have.
Uh, well, which might work, but um, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go back to uh, this create update screen where we can update stuff based on the template. Reset it back to the template, and that should straighten it out.
Mhm.
So, well, actually, I mean, I don't necessarily. Well, maybe it makes sense to go through it just
Yeah, I
since
wouldn't mind.
you actually mentioned that sometimes you have like messed things up and then want to get them straightened out again. Uh, let's see. This might create update. Do.
So was
Um,
the one you changed was the 29th.
29th
You
of
had
what
turned it into
month?
you had turned it into a contest and you want to turn it back.
Remember. This is. I'm going to straighten this out after the meeting because I think
Okay.
it's no longer connected to the the template because I overwrote it that way. But
Oh,
I will straighten this out after the
I'm
call
sorry, Miss
uh,
Bass.
so that I don't screw up my own club.
Mhm.
Uh, let's see. Let me drop the force field for a moment. Um, other questions, or is there something else in specific that you want me? Did,
Um,
is what I showed you helpful at all in terms of figuring out how
Somewhat. I
to?
mean, it's like I said, it's been a while since I played with it. Where I got when I was trying to create the templates through Elementor, through an Elementor page, and I would try to click, every Wednesday, And then I would say, every alternate Wednesday, it wouldn't save that setting. So there was something conflicting. So what I was going to do
Maybe.
today was to try to do it on a non-Elementor page to see
Well,
if that would.
let me show you. Actually, that's one thing that I didn't cover, and probably should. And it goes back to this concept of how you work with the block format. So let's
Okay.
see, is this the site that I was working with? Yeah. Uh, so one of the concepts with the core WordPress, not Elementor,
Okay.
is the recent themes that are coming out that are known as block themes are designed so that you can just design the page template
Hmm.
using the same block metaphor that you use for editing or designing a page. So if you're logged in as the admin on one of these and you're using one of these themes, you'll
Hmm.
see edit page, which would be edit the specific content of this one page, and
Right.
then edit site, which is where we're editing the overall design.
Right.
And so the overall design is made up of different different templates, and they define things like the header of the page, the footer of the page, the navigation menu of the page, and then you just see placeholders where the main title of the page is going to go. There's a spot for a featured image if a featured image has been specified, and then there's a spot for the content of the page. And there are parameters that can be set for all of these. Um, I mean, a lot of people, if they're basically happy with the theme that they have inherited, they can go in here and just click into the header section and then make changes to the menu. So if wanted to add an additional page, I can do About Us. And I think I created an About Us page, or I can create an About Us page. So you can do Create Page, and this will just create a blank placeholder page that is now on my main menu. If I want to rearrange items on the menu, I can drag and drop up and down. Um, you can also add a link to an external website. So if I wanted to link to something on Toastmasters.org,
Hmm. And does that open up a new page or does it overtake the?
that's an option you can is in terms of like whether it opens up on a new tab. That's
Okay.
an
Oh,
option
yeah.
you can set
Okay.
here.
Hmm.
So we could say, um, and I think because I'm zoomed in here, partly it's looking a little bit too crowded, um,
I see. And you can
but
change the block settings here and it would change it for every page that used this template.
right, right. And so
Okay.
on this site, it's set up so that there is one template for pages, there's one template for blog posts. They're pretty similar,
But I
and
could create
they
a, I
both
could,
include this header section, right?
I could create a page that's just for the schedule.
Correct,
Okay.
right. Um, yeah, you can have there are lots of different customization options here. I think one of my challenge is also always that there are so many options that people tend to be a little bit intimidated. So
Hmm.
I try and hold myself back a little bit on saying, look at all the different things you can do so that
Yeah.
they don't get too intimidated by the fact that there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn if you need to get fancy, but if you're trying to make something relatively basic, you should be able to just take one of these default templates and work with it. Um, but while I'm in here, I could change some of the other basic properties of this. I could um, go into the header area, and this is part of what I was trying to show you about being able to see in the outline view how different things
Hmm.
are set up. So if
Hmm.
I wanted this to have a blue background and I want the text to be white, I can make those changes here. I would also want to probably make the link color be white. Um, so, uh, but it helps to be able to sort of see what kind of structures have been used. There's this concept of a group, which is just means that you're going to apply the same stylings to everything within that group. There's a row where things are going to be spaced out horizontally. Um, there are columns which for doing two even columns or three even columns, or it's a little bit more predefined with a column than a row. They're both sort of horizontal spacing mechanisms, but they're again, you don't necessarily have to mess with this stuff if you have a theme that you're relatively happy with, but the
Hmm.
options are there. And just I have been working on also updating a lot of the documentation for this stuff. So if you go to the toastmost.org site under documentation, it'll take you to this page, and it has a bunch of tutorials on getting started with Toastmost, the basics of WordPress, some of the email functions, the agenda functions,
Oh,
how to
cool.
set up the membership and dues. So I've
Okay.
tried to, I could use help with this. If anybody feels like volunteering to help out with the documentation, I've tried to do it a little bit at a time over the years. But some of, the downside of that is sometimes you might run across an article that's slightly outdated. I haven't gotten around to
Yeah.
going back to it. So I'm trying to get some people to help with either written documentation or training videos or anything like that that would help people come up to speed. But
Oh, you've done an amazing job. This is really fantastic, these tools. You
okay.
definitely.
Well, I hope you can actually get it working for you
I
because
really
it's
do.
not, it's not,
I have to give myself like a 2 hour block to just really sit down and figure it out. You can't just do it like, oh, I've got 10
well,
minutes.
and the block themes that I use on Toastmost are available for download. I can't make them available in the in the WordPress themes repository because they include trademark materials from Toastmasters, and I'm
Oh,
trying to. I've gotten cease and desist letters from Toastmasters International from time to time. I'm trying to avoid doing that again.
gotcha.
But but I actually also have had pretty good working relationship with the brand team there
Hmm.
to show them the themes, show them the use of the brand colors within the themes. So if you
Hmm.
if you notice when I picked a blue, it is the loyal blue from the Toastmasters International
Yeah,
brand manual.
4165. Yeah,
So
yeah.
trying to stick to the straight and narrow. You can customize it to be any color, but I'm presenting you with
Well,
the Toastmasters approved
also,
options
it's like
first.
there's the public facing site and then there's the members area where we have a little bit more flexibility.
Sure, sure, absolutely. Well, actually, there's a site called or a club called Dungeons
Dungeons
and
and
Toast.
Dungeons and Toast, yeah, they are my inspiration.
All right. Well, Lonnie Huff probably has forgotten more about WordPress than I've learned.
Yeah, no, she's
But
amazing.
she works with me on some of the stuff. She's one of the people who has contributed some code back to the project or bug fixes
Well,
and
David, if
things.
you have time, I can actually later, maybe I can show you what I've been doing with, I created an Airtable for my club, which we use for tracking a lot of stuff. And it's been really helpful for, member management and stuff. And so
Okay.
some of the things I have are like Airtable embeds for people looking things up of like when did I do a speech and whatever. It's really easy.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, I've tried to bake some of that into the framework too. Like I told you, I showed you how I could look up my old speeches.
Yeah.
And I know some club officers have told me that that's handy with these new requirements that you have to do a certain number of roles and the
Oh
level.
my
If I
God,
can go
not just
back and
that.
look
I
that
mean, if
up.
you don't track
But
it, it just gets away from you. And then the poor VPE has to, like, how are they going to remember everything, you know? So I have the secretary logging all the roles after every meeting. And that way, you know, whenever people want to see how they're doing, there's a dashboard where they can see. We call it kind of a bingo card, so they can keep track of how many roles they've done and stuff. So they have a
All
report
right.
that gives them a bingo card.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. I have to run, but
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry I
Another
messed up
time,
your
I'd be
site.
interested in seeing what you did. And let me just ask Gail and go ahead and Sula if you need to go.
Okay, take
Gail,
care.
I know you. I think you came in a little bit late on this. I don't know whether you got anything useful out of it. I can send you the replay that to start from the beginning more.
Yes, hi, David. I did came in late. Actually, I forgot I did register
Oh,
and I
okay.
forgot the time. So you can send me the replay for me to go over it and I'll try register for one of the maybe one in June.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
also, if you just look at the replay and you have questions, just write back to me, or there's a WhatsApp group I've set up for people who are interested in this. You can want to join that. That'd be great as well.
Okay, thank you so much. Hi,
All right.
Linda.
Hey,
Yep.
Gail.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for tuning
All
in,
right.
Linda. And if there's anything else that I can do, let me know.
All right. You guys have a great afternoon.
Okay. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.